Okay, so you want to buy a golf course, 200 acres of perfect green grass, a clubhouse with a bar, wealthy members paying you every month just for the privilege of walking on your lawn. It's the ultimate rich man's business. You play for free, everyone calls you sir, and the money rolls in while you're standing on the 18th green watching the sun go down. But here's the strange part. There's an old joke in this industry that if you want to make a small fortune owning a golf course, you should start with a large one. And it exists because it's true. Nearly 1,500 golf courses have closed in the United States since 2014. Not struggled, closed, shut the gates, sold the land, gone. And here's the part that makes no sense at all. Many of the people who bought those courses walked away richer than when they arrived. They made a fortune on a business that failed. Because the dirty secret of this industry is that the golf course is almost never the asset. The golf is the thing you tolerate while you wait for the thing you actually bought to become valuable. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what that means. What it really costs to own 200 acres of grass. Why almost no golf course in America makes real money from golf, and the quiet endgame that turns a failing course into one of the most profitable land plays in real estate if you can survive long enough to reach it. Let's start with what it actually costs to get in. The range here is wider than almost any business we've looked at. At the bottom end, a rural, distressed, half-abandoned 18-hole course, somewhere the population left and never came back, can be picked up for under $1 million. Sometimes a few $100,000. There are courses in America right now that cost less than a nice house in a major city. The normal market is higher. A functioning 18-hole daily fee course in a decent regional market typically trades somewhere between $2 and $15 million. That's your realistic entry point for a real business with real customers. And then there's the top. A high-quality private club near a major metro or a resort course with a name attached to it will run you $8 to $30 million and up. Build one from scratch, and you're looking at $5 million on the very low end, and easily $15, $25, $30 million for a championship caliber layout once you've paid for the land, the architect, the earthwork, the drainage, the irrigation system, and the clubhouse. Now, if you're paying attention, something should already feel off. Why is there a business where the same product, 18 holes of golf, can cost $800,000? Or $30 million. Why is the price so completely unhinged from the thing you're buying? Hold on to that. It's the whole answer, and we'll get there first. The costs nobody warns you about, because you didn't buy a business. You bought 150 to 200 acres of the most demanding, needy, expensive plant life on Earth, and it is going to try to die on you every single day for the rest of your life. The nationwide average maintenance budget for a single 18-hole golf course runs right around $1 million a year. Let that land before you've paid for the clubhouse staff, before marketing, before your mortgage, before insurance, before a single thing that has anything to do with running a business. You owe roughly $1 million a year just to keep the grass alive and cut. That's about $44,000 per hole per year in upkeep. At a private club, the maintenance budget alone routinely passes $1 million and keeps climbing. And where does that money go? Over half of it, around 57%, is labor. A public course runs 12 to 18 maintenance staff. A private club runs 18 to 25. This is an army of people mowing, spraying, seeding, raking bunkers, fixing irrigation, but the fast lane serves nearly double the customers in the exact same window. Grass this perfect is not natural. It is an enormous ongoing act of violence against nature, and you are paying for it by the hour, but the cost that actually kills people is water. A golf course drinks. Irrigation alone can run $100,000 to $300,000 a year. And in the wrong region, that's optimistic. In the American Southwest, the average maintenance cost per acre climbs above $15,000. And here's the detail that should terrify you. 2 golf courses sitting within a few miles of each other can have annual water bills that differ by $1 million. $1 million of difference in cost for the same business, on the same grass, in the same climate, purely because of who holds which water rights and what the local utility decides to charge. You are not buying a business. You are buying a long-term uncapped bet on the price of water in a world where water keeps getting more expensive. And if a drought comes, or the municipality restricts usage, or the rates get repriced, there's nothing you can do. You cannot make the grass need less water. The grass does not negotiate, so the costs are brutal and largely fixed. Which brings us to the real question. How does a golf course actually make money? And this is where the whole thing turns upside down. Start with the obvious answer. Green fees. A typical daily fee 18-hole course hosts around 30,000 rounds a year. A private club is far lower, roughly 19 to 20,000 rounds. And the average full-size course generates somewhere in the range of $1 to $3 million in total annual revenue. Now, put those numbers next to each other. Revenue of 1 to 3 million. Maintenance alone of around $1 million. Before every other cost in the business. Add staff, clubhouse, insurance, equipment, property tax, and debt service on the millions you borrowed to buy the place, and you can see it immediately on golf alone. The margin is razor thin, and in a bad year, it's simply gone. One drought, one recession, one brutal winter that shortens the season, one new course opening 10 minutes away. This is why almost nobody in this industry actually makes their money from golf. Look at where the real profit hides. The pro shop, the cart fees, which are close to pure margin once you own the carts. The bar and the restaurant, where you are the only place to eat and drink. For 200 acres in every direction, exactly like a stadium, exactly like a cruise ship. The lessons. The driving range, where you sell a bucket of balls that costs you almost nothing over and over and over. And the biggest one of all. Weddings, corporate outings, charity tournaments, banquets. A golf course is a beautiful venue with a big kitchen, a huge parking lot, and a photogenic lawn. And there is an entire industry of people who will pay you $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 for a single Saturday. Many courses in America now make more profit from the events business than from golf. The 18 holes have quietly become the scenery for a hospitality company. So the reframe is this. You are not running a golf business with a restaurant attached. You're running a hospitality and events venue that uses an enormously expensive lawn to justify its prices and fill its calendar. The golf is the marketing. The golf is the reason the wedding costs $80,000 instead of $40,000. But even that isn't the real answer, because there's one more layer, and it's the layer that explains everything, including why the price of a course can swing from $800,000 to $30 million. You never bought a golf course. You bought 200 acres of contiguous, developed, road-accessible, utility-connected land inside a community that people already want to live in. That's the asset. That's what you actually own. Think about what a golf course really is, stripped of the grass. It's one of the largest single undeveloped parcels of land inside a suburb. It's already graded. It already has drainage and irrigation infrastructure. It sits surrounded by homes, which means the neighborhood is proven, the schools exist, the roads exist, the demand exists. In most metro areas, there is simply no other way to acquire 200 acres of buildable land in an established neighborhood. It doesn't come up for sale. It doesn't exist except as a golf course, and this is why developers have been circling this industry for years. The math is brutally simple. Fewer people play golf than a decade ago. America overbuilt courses badly, at one point growing the supply by more than 40% in 20 years. So you have too many courses chasing a shrinking pool of players, all carrying million-dollar maintenance bills. Meanwhile, land values in those same neighborhoods went straight up. At some point, the two lines cross, and the land under the golf course becomes worth dramatically more than the golf course could ever earn. When that happens, the play isn't to run a better golf course. The play is to get the land rezoned and build houses. Home builders across the country have done exactly this, turning failed and closing courses into hundreds of homes each. One developer took a closed course and turned it into an olive grove and a gated community. Others simply carve it into lots. 150 acres of dead grass becomes 120 houses, and the $10 million you paid for a failing business becomes something else entirely. That's the end game. And it's why the smart money in this industry has never really been betting on golf. But before you go shopping for a distressed course, You need to understand the trap, because this play has killed a lot of people and the trap has two jaws. The first is the death spiral. Revenue drops, so you cut the maintenance budget, but the maintenance budget is the product. Cut it, and the greens get worse. The bunkers get shabby, the fairways burn out. Golfers notice immediately, and they leave for the course down the road. So revenue drops further, so you cut deeper. Every dollar you save makes the next year worse. Courses that enter this spiral almost never come out of it. And the industry has a well-worn path for them, sold and resold to progressively cheaper operators. Each one investing less until there's nothing left to sell but the dirt. The second jaw is worse because it can trap you even when the land is worth a fortune. It's the covenants. Here's the situation that ruins people. Homeowners bought their houses specifically because they backed onto a golf course. They paid a premium for that view. And in a huge number of these communities, the land is bound by restrictive covenants or the local comprehensive plan. Explicitly designates it as recreation space, or the county simply refuses to amend the zoning. So you own 200 acres that would be worth a fortune as housing that you're legally not permitted to turn into housing. Now you're stuck. You cannot develop it. You cannot profitably run it as golf. And you cannot even stop maintaining it. Because the moment you do, you own 200 acres of dying weeds that the county will fine you for, surrounded by furious homeowners with lawyers, watching their own property values fall. The rezoning fights that follow can run for years and cost millions. Against neighborhood associations that will fight you at every public meeting until you run out of money or patience. There are courses in America right now that are worth more dead than alive and cannot legally die. So let's put it all together. What do you actually make? Scenario 1. The operator. You buy a solid daily fee course in a healthy market for around $4 million. You run 30,000 rounds a year, you push carts and the driving range hard, and you turn the clubhouse into a serious events business. Weddings, corporate days, tournaments. You do maybe $2 million in revenue. You fight your $1 million maintenance bill every single year. And if you run it well, you clear a modest, honest profit. Real, but thin, and one drought or one recession away from zero. This is a business that will make you a living and take your weekends. It will not make you rich. Scenario 2, the land banker. You buy a distressed course cheap precisely because its numbers look terrible. On a large parcel, in a growing metro where land is scarce and the zoning is not locked shut. You run it lean, do just enough to cover the carrying costs, and keep the grass alive. And you wait, not for golf to recover, for the land to reprice. And when it does, you take the entitlement fight to the county and you convert grass into lots. That's where the 10-figure math in this industry actually lives. And it has almost nothing to do with the game. So if you buy a golf course, be honest with yourself about what you're really buying. Not a business, not a lifestyle, not the sunset on the 18th green. You're buying a very large, very expensive, very thirsty piece of land and paying $1 million a year to keep it beautiful while you wait to find out what it's really worth. In golf, the grass is what everyone sees. The dirt underneath is what everyone's actually playing for.